Okay, folks, this is where things get a little bit complicated. So we've set up our simulation, and when we plugged it into the calculator, we have a list of numbers, 79 numbers based on his playoff performance. Again, we are trying to see if 15 out of 79 made shots is significant or not. So you've got this list of numbers, 3, 384, 76, 982, any number between 1 and 1,000, and there's 79 of them. And you went through and you circled the ones where he made a shot. So we said between 1 and 138 was a made shot. So here's a made, here's a miss, here's a made, here's a miss. And we went all the way through until we calculated how many out of those 79 he made. So let's say that every number past this is bigger than 138. So in this scenario, maybe he only made 2 out of 79. Okay, that's one simulation, and typically we want 100 simulations. So just think about how terrible it would be to write down 79 numbers 100 times and to count how many. But typically we'll give you the dot plot for that. Big takeaways. If you do not simulate the performance, so the performance that we wanted to simulate was 15 out of 79. If you do not simulate 15 out of 79, that means, actually I'm talking about what happens if you do. If you do simulate the performance, that means that the performance could have been due to random chance. So we were able to randomly simulate it with a random integer calculator. That means random chance. However, if you cannot simulate it, that means that your ability changed. So we said that clutch meant that you had a greater ability. So if we can't simulate 15 out of 79 makes, that means his ability is changing. So we look at where the dots are on the dot plot. So if we have a dot plot, it can only go from 0 to 79 because I only had 79 numbers to simulate. So let's say that this is maybe 14, 15, 16, 17, 13. Okay, so that would mean that he made 13 out of 79, 14 out of 79, 15 out of 79. And I was able to do these dot plots. So each dot represents one simulation of 79 numbers. Okay, I've got a bunch of dots. Okay, this keeps going, 12. I've got a bunch of dots. Here's one here, here's one here. In this region right here, because all those dots were simulated, that means random chance. Every one of those dots was simulated by random chance. That means that performance could have been due by random chance. However, if I have this section to the left, so below 13, that means your ability would have decreased. So that means the ability would have decreased. And on the right-hand side, if your performance was above 17, that means your ability increased. So you're kind of looking at the dots and you're saying, what happened when I simulated it? So here's a couple questions that we could look at. Here's a dot plot of Peyton Manning. When he had the ability, that means in like the regular season, he completed 64% of his passes. Okay, and we attempted 34 to see how many completions he had within that 34. So each one of those, this would be a time when I did 1 to 64 was a completed pass, 65 to 100 was an incomplete pass. I counted, and each one of these dots, like this 14 right here, that represents 14 out of 34 completions. This one right here, 16, 16 out of 34, etc. So let's say he completes 25 of them. Would 25 be surprising? So you look in your dot plot. Here's 25. Are there dots above 25? The answer is yes. So would this be surprising? No, because 25 out of 34 passes was simulated by random chance. So it's not surprising if we can simulate it. Random, sorry, my handwriting is so terrible. Random chance. All right, so for the next one, the next scenario, he completed 10 out of 34. Would this be surprising? So we look on the graph. Do you see 10 anywhere? No. Yes, this would be surprising because 10 out of 34 was not simulated. Okay, how many completions would Manning need in order to give you convincing evidence that his ability had increased? So if his ability had increased, that means we're looking for a performance to the right. So I look here, where is the part where we're not able to simulate on the right? So we were able to simulate 28, random chance. We are able to simulate 29, random chance. So that means any attempt, so above 29 out of 34, would suggest his ability had increased. Okay, so again, let's talk about this real quick. Let me highlight it. I think that in the past, what I've seen is that when you highlight it and kind of go over the regions, it really helps. So any number between 14 and 29, that is considered a simulation by random chance, not surprising. Not surprising, not certain. Okay, if I look to the right, any number above 29 is surprising. That means ability increased. So to the right, increase, that makes sense. Okay, now below, any number below 14, so any number below 14 is surprising. Below 14 is surprising. That means, because it's to the left, surprising. My handwriting's getting terrible. Okay. That means that his ability decreased. So this is kind of tough stuff. So make sure that you kind of watch the video again, look at different scenarios, and just kind of make sense of what each of those dots actually mean. I think if you understand what each dot means, then you'll feel more confident about what you're doing.